hang out with the gangsters and he's making all kinds of trouble. So he's not the kind of confused but behave kind of boy. He's that kind of confused but he will behave badly kind of guy. That's number one. And number two, I think he probably would not have listened to Mama Leo because, well, his teacher's advice was based on an understanding of his personality and ability and talents, right? But the problem with Mama Leo's suggestion is that it was based on her own wishes. I mean, she wants girls to work in beauty salons, and she would have another kind of idea for boys' typical jobs. For example, construction works. So Mama Leo would say, well, John, since you were a man, so I find you a part-time job in a construction field and please go to that. In that case, I think John would probably say no. John is confused, but John is not saying yes to all of the things that people suggest him to do. Right? Okay, anyway, so we're trying to move to our second article. The open window. But before that, I just want to mention the dialect in all kinds of writing, novels and memoir as well. Dialect, we have explained that in the article Building Bridge. So is the kind of language spoken by only one group of people, not everyone. So it's so it tells the personality, it tells some information about the character. Okay? I think this is a very interesting and comic here. So can you try to explain this to us? Someone trying to explain this comic to us? So this is a cat. Okay? So the cat teacher said, a foreign language is tough enough without having to learn dialects. And he wrote all these things on the bridge. Maybe Thomas? What is this all about?
So dialect, I think this is all about dialects. It is the way someone speaks in a certain area. And yeah.
Right.
I
So what about this picture, this comic?
Yeah, the picture, I think it's really fun. So I think
what's on the blackboard?
I think if we say that the cats are humans and they're learning a foreign language, the thing on the blackboard is dog language.
Right. They're all different kinds of dogs' language, right? So we could consider them as dialects.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Thank you, Thomas. It basically is just a group of cats. They're trying to learn dogs' language, but there are so many dialects of dogs' language. All these woof, uff, roof, bark. They're all different words for dogs barking. So the teacher said a foreign language is tough enough without having to learn dialects. So, yeah, dogs language. Right. So just give you a lot of example of those dialects. So for example, Mama Leo says, stop to do a bunch of low down maths work. Low down maths work is not a standard English expression, right? So not a lot of people, no other people would use this phrase apart from Mama Leo and probably her friends. So it tells the some personality of that person. For example, you won't hear that words from a highly educated, I think, professor, for example. But you probably will hear that from a black woman, probably. Okay? And tapping on my soul. Don't be so quick to put that down in a mouth expression. Right? And they're all examples. And we do have examples of dialect in the right words at the right time. I'm gonna put that in your homework. This is one of your homework, to find the dialect in that passage. Alright. We're coming to open window. A lot of you said that you like this little story. And why you like this story? What's the best part of this story? Amelia? Yes?
My best part of this short story is that this story, the open window, actually is it's like I want to read more. I want to just continue reading until the mystery is solved.
Right. So it gets your attention all the way down to the end.
Yeah.
How do you think the writer achieved this? In what way?
Maybe just writing something that sort of writes out a problem solved, and then keeps out another problem and mystery and so on.
Right. Okay, thank you, Amelia. I think some people say that the best part is the ending. Yes, of course, because the ending reveals the truth and everything started to make sense. But I agree with Amelia too. I mean, if the writer couldn't get you, keep reading until the end, you won't find such a good ending. You feel like you're really attracted in the plots and you want to read more, you want to know what happens next, right? And this is because there are a lot of suspended interest there, right? So a lot of guesses, a lot of questions in your mind. You always change your hypothesis. You always guess about the truth of the story, and you want to see whether you are correct or not. This is like you watch a film, like a detective film or crime film. Okay, so you're solving the puzzle together with the main character. So you want to know who is the criminal and who is the killer, that kind of thing. Yeah, suspense. What's wrong with the last sentence? There's nothing wrong with it. Alright, so character and plot. Let's talk about character and plot. So there were basically three main characters, I guess, right? So we have the person, what's his name? Fratman, right? Right. Frampton, Nuttall. So Frampton. And we have the girl, Vera, right? And we have her aunt. Okay, let's try to summarize all these three characters. What kind of person are they? Should we try Eva again? Let's try Eva one final time. Hello?
Hello?
Right. Eva, do you have a microphone or is just your laptop? Are you speaking to your laptop or do you have a headset or a microphone with you?
I don't have a microphone. I just speak to my laptop.
Right, that's probably the problem. Trying to get a microphone or a headset next time, okay? Alright, what do you think of the male character? Frampton. What kind of person is him?
I think he is lonely because if he's why is he going to the to
Okay, right. First, thank you, Eva. So, I mean, if you want to answer the question, you can always give me some keywords in a chat box. You don't have to, speak. Okay, we have like 16 students in the classroom. I really want all of you to contribute something into the question. If you don't feel comfortable enough to speak in front of the whole class, I mean, you can always type. Okay? So you can give me some words in the chat box. Is one huge advantage of having online lessons, right? So you don't have to speak in front of the public. So, okay. Right. So after finish reading all the story, what kind of character is him? And how do you know? He's nervous. Some people, Judy say he's nervous. He's weird. He's strange. Well, let's read part of the description of him. Okay? If you want to try to summarize the character, to analyze the character and the plot, I think you can use this form. This is a really good form. Okay, so you could underline, you would pick out all the expressions about the character, what the character does, or what the character says, and the description of his appearance, his look, and then you're trying to figure out what this shows about the character. You need to put these pieces of details all together, and then you could see the whole picture of him. Okay, alright. So let's see, is there anything about him? I have to look at my book to underline. It's too small there. Right, so he trying to think about something to talk to the girl, right? He also wondered what he would say to the aunt. So obviously, he's not very social. He's not a social person. Right? If he's a social person, and then he will always know what to talk. How to start a conversation with a stranger. Right? Okay. So he's not social, he's not really outgoing, and let's see. He actually came to the place to cure his nerves. If he need to cure his nerves, that means he's really stressed, right? He got the intense nerves, probably emotionally vulnerable, right? This kind of thing. Okay, and yeah, not very outgoing. So a little bit weird. It's not really weird. It's just he's very sensitive. Let's say he's very sensitive. Right. And also he's nervous, and also he's very shy. Right? These are all about him. Let's see more about him. So he don't want to meet strangers. So your nerves will be worse than ever from mopping. So mopping is feeling sorry for yourself. So he does not like meeting strangers. That will make him even more nervous. Right. So this is how you get okay, from the character. And there is a question about him on page 59. Yeah, introverted. He's quite introverted. Let's look at the question on page 59. How do you think Frampton would feel at a party or in a crowded room? Why do you think that? You can give me your answers in the chat box. Imagine this. What would he do in a party room? And why do you think so? You need to find evidence on that, okay? Alright, let's see. He will sit in a corner of the room. Yes, probably. He won't enjoy the party. Do nothing, stand alone. Stand aside. Yes. Right. So, probably not enjoying. Yeah, he feels like every second is like 100 years long. And he probably feel embarrassed because if he's not talking to anyone, he probably think that no one wants to talk to him. So he feel really embarrassed and uncomfortable. Yes. Or you could say he would feel terrified at a party because you really need to add the evidence. Because from the passage, we know he's nervous around people, especially strangers, right? So from the first thing, we can see that he's really uncomfortable to stay with the girl, with the teenage girl Vera. Alright, and on the other hand, what would you think of the character of the teenager girl, Vera? What kind of person is Vera? What? So is she also very nervous and uncomfortable to stay with strangers? Or how do you know that? She's outgoing, right? Apart from outgoing, any more information about the girl? She trying to warm up. She trying to warm up. Let's see something that she does. Okay, so this time I'm using green to underline. So where it just starts. Okay. So my aunt will be done soon. You see, it's her who starts talking, right? So she's not afraid of speaking to strangers. And also, what else can we know? So the next description of her would be, do you know, right? Do you know any of the people here? Ask the niece. The niece is the small girl, right? She thought that they had been silent long enough. So she has very good social skills. She trying to to break the ice with him. Judy said talkative. I think he's, well, if you say somebody's talkative and that person won't stop talking, even if other people feel annoyed, right? So in this case, I think the girl is not really talkative, but she's very insightful. She could detect, she could sense the overall situation, and she could trying to find something appropriate to talk to the stranger. So I would say that she is sophisticated. Me. She's just like to talk. If you finish reading the story, I mean, you know his trick, her trick, and then you go back to this sentence. Why is she asking this question? Do you know many of the people here? What's the real reason she asked? I mean, of course, for trying to find something to break the ice, but what's the real reason she asked? Anyone? Do you know? Vivian, do you know that? The real reason she asked this question? Okay, were you trying to pick up the call? Vivian? Your Wi-Fi is bad. Alright. I think Judy's right. To start the wild tale. Why is that? Judy, can you explain to us? Can you explain what do you mean by to start the wild tale?
Well, I think if she wants to start a wild tale about these three men, she needs to talk about her aunt, and then she needs to say, do you know many of the people here? And then introduce her aunt and get into the wild story.
Oh, so I think that's the setting of her story. I think you think that she is setting her stories? So
yes,
this is the first step of her story.
Yes, like hook him.
Hook him. All right. Okay. Thank you, Judy. Right. I'm going to tell you the real reason she asked this question. Okay. All of the things you've mentioned could be one of the reasons, but the real reason she asked this question is she wants to know how much Frankton knows about this area. Because if Frankton is very familiar with this area and people here, I mean, her story won't work. Right? She will probably start to think of a different story to trick him. So this is the real reason she asked this question. She wants to test how much he knows about their family, about her aunt, her aunt's husband and the people around here. Because if he knows a lot, this story won't work. She won't trick him. So this is the real reason. So that is why I say that the girl is more than, social, talkative, as you said. She's really smart, right? She's really good at tricking people with her stories. So the first step is trying to know your audience, trying to find out what they don't know, trying to find the information gap between you and them. And then you have a space for your story. That is really clever. You see? Okay. So, and also, it's also very clever of the writer, if you consider the writer. So he, because when you first read this part, you think, oh, she is just breaking the ice. But once you've finished reading the whole story, and then you go back to this part and you find out that, no, she is already been planning her story, right? She has started plotting all these things. He's collecting information from her target. Very, very clever. Very clever girl. Do you think this picture is could be her? What's the thing that Vera and the girl in the painting have in common? They are very... Give me one adjective. Mysterious. Are they mysterious? Look at the girl in a painting. Are they mysterious, or what do you feel? I think they're all very confident, right? They look like they're quite confident, and they know a lot of things, probably. Yes, confident and out. Well, you can't tell whether the girl is outgoing from the painting, right? But she is, well, she's comfortable and confident. Alright, okay. And let's consider the second thing she said. Once Frankton said, hardly anybody. My sister stayed here for 4 years ago. He gave me letters of introduction to some of the people she met. Okay. After she got this answer and she know this is a good target, I could start to tell my stories. He won't have any problem with that. So what's the next thing she said? Then you don't know my aunt? You see? She's again checking. Okay, checking his knowledge about her family. And continue the self-assured young lady. So here, self-assured means very confident. Okay, now you close your eyes, you would see this young girl sitting there. With a bit mystery, smiling, planning of, her story, and very confident, sophisticated, sitting there saying that. Okay, right. Next. So only her name and address, he admitted. He wondered whether Mrs. Sappleton was married or widowed. Something about the room made him believe she was married. Okay. So from this description, from this sentence, this is a description of Frampton, right? We know that Frampton is a good observer, right? He's a very good observer. He could tell from the detail or the decoration of the room that she is married. And why? I mean, why the writer gives us the detail? She is married. That Frankton think that she's married. Because later in the story, Frampton believed that she is actually a widow. Okay? She lost her husband few years ago, but she still keeps her room like this, meaning, and that makes him feel, afraid or nervous. So she's obviously still in her life few years ago. 精神不太正常，是吧？ Right. So, but once you know the story, the trick of Vera, then you would find out that it's absolutely normal. It's absolutely normal to have all these things in her home because, well, she is married. Everything is normal. But with the girl's story, so Frampton thinks that, well, everything is really abnormal. So every piece of description is useful, especially in a short story like this. The writer gives you these details for a reason. Okay? And also, when you write your stories, you need to consider this thing as well. Do I have to write this sentence? Why? Is it useful? Why my reader have to read this? If it's not related to the plot later, you should delete this sentence. Every sentence has a reason to be in your story. Otherwise, you need to delete them. Okay? So when you read the story and you think about the function of this story. So this details is really, really useful. Alright. Now we know that he noticed details. Right, next. Her great tragedy happened 3 years ago. What kind of words is this? Even if you want to tell others about what went on in this house, you won't start with a sentence like this. Right? Her tragedy started 3 years ago. This sounds like what kind of person, or who would say this? Who would say something like this? Thomas? Where or who will you hear this kind of thing?
So, saying this probably is not someone that's in the same family, probably rivals, like, oh yeah, him or her. Her tragedy happened years ago. So, like, normally someone who detests each other would say this. Family members probably, they would say it in a more gentle way. And
how would you say it, for example?
So if I would say that, like, something bad happened to her that I really does not want to share, like, something like that.
Right.
Saying this, I don't know who say it, but I'm not sure who would say it, but it doesn't suit anyone who's in the same family. It's cold.
Right. It's quite weird. Okay. So if you would like to say the similar thing to a stranger, first, it's very weird to share this kind of like a family secret to a stranger, right? But even if you want to share a story like this, you would say, well, actually there's something happened in this house a few years ago. Or, well, she's such a poor lady because, or you would say, I don't know if she really wants you to know this, but she blah blah blah. What kind of person would you say her tragedy started 3 years ago? You may feel like it's really cold-blooded, but let me tell you, this is quite familiar from one type of person who is a storyteller. Right? It's a typical starts from a storyteller. Yes? Can you recognize now? The story starts 3 years ago. It was right, long ago, in a very far away place, there is a princess doing what? The whole story starts from a small town called blah blah. Right? It's not like a real conversation, a live conversation you would have with a guest, with a stranger. But it looks like a storyteller start to tell a story. Yes? Right. So and this also makes sense because, you know, she always does this. She's a good story maker and she enjoys to trick people with her story. So, you may feel a little bit strange when you hear this beginning, but then after you read everything, you go back to here, you find, oh yeah, that makes sense. And now you say, oh yeah, now I understand. I mean, you should figure this out by yourself. Okay? Yes. So now you find out that, you know, the writer is really good. This is the point of this course. I mean, I know you understand the story. But if nobody tells you this, you won't suddenly realize, wow, how good the writer is. And, oh, this is the skill. Like, wow, right, yeah. So you need someone to discuss with you on such little tricks and details. And this is the point of our lesson. So, right, next, what he says. So then that would have been after your sister was here. Why would she add that was after your sister was here? Why was that? Because she is telling Frampton that you wouldn't have known this. You wouldn't have heard about this story. It's perfectly okay if you haven't heard about this, because this is something that your sister doesn't know as well. And then the tragedy. Okay. So again, you feel like the man is really nervous in this case, right? It was hard to imagine tragedies in this restful place. Okay, and she said, you may wonder why we keep that window wide open on an October afternoon. This is storytelling skills. You're trying to start from the setting. Yeah? You're trying to start from the setting and from everything. And you know that the Frampton even thinks that there's nothing wrong with having a window open, because he said, well, it's quite warm today. But she leads him, okay, into a suspension or a hypothesis that someone lost their life and everything. So it's really interesting to see how she, you know, leads him into the story, how she makes him believe in her story step by step. Okay, now I've explained the first step. I would like you to read the rest of the story again and to see how each step went and why it all worked, and how he really, like, completely falls into her story. And this is analysis of stories rather than, you know, understanding the story, but you're trying to see the development, the structure, the character building, and also the plot setting of the story. And then that would be beneficial for your own writing. Okay, so I'll leave the rest analyzed to you. Okay, I'll put that in your homework I'll later send your homework to the group chat. And there's so much more to analyze in this story. The character, the plot, the description, and I mean, everything was there for a reason. So I mean, the writer is really skillful and he's really good at writing all this. Alright, so I'm gonna see you next week, and next week we're going to read the next 2 articles, One in a Million and also Ambush. So please trying to read these 2 articles before, and also trying to think about the characters, the plot, and everything about them. Okay, and we're gonna trying to, it's more like discuss together with you. Alright, so I also want everyone to make more contribution into our discussion and to share your thoughts more, instead of just listening to us. Okay, bye bye. Yeah, time passes so fast. Bye bye. 喜欢这位同学啊。